The Nazi Party was not a political party the way we understand it. It was a cult, and you're being brainwashed into a cult.
We have to make sense of these belief systems, right? How did the Nazis think? We have to get sort of into their heads.
That's an area that historians have not wanted to go. They don't want to go into the bowel of the beast.
The SS cult dreams of remaking an ancient, sinister world where Aryan supermen wield magical powers and lesser races are their slaves, where pagan gods are worshipped with blood and the power of the Holy Grail is harnessed to destroy the enemies of Adolf Hitler.
To us today, it sounds absolutely bizarre, but believe it, because people do believe in the unbelievable.
From their castle headquarters, the SS search for ancient supermen in Tibet, for the remnants of their ancestors' magic war weapons. For proof they are the master race, and that their rightful destiny is to rule the world.
These were the people running one of the best military operations the world had ever known. And yet these were people who were psychotic. They didn't need scientific proof for what they believed in.
It's 7 decades since Adolf Hitler and his henchmen spread their evil around the world. The time has come to open the Nazi Gospels. Once the Aryans are restored to their ancient glory, the Nazis dream they can once again rule over all the lesser races. To do that, during the 1930s, Hitler builds up the world's most powerful military machine. His goal, to enslave the lesser races in a German empire that will last for 1,000 years. It's time to open the Nazi gospel of race war. The Nazis see themselves as the Aryan master race, their rightful destiny to rule the world.
War is an integral part of the Nazi Gospels in the sense that races will always collide, will always conflict. It's a struggle for survival. You cannot simply coexist. You have to assert yourself militarily.
The Nazi belief in conflict between races comes from a twisted interpretation of one of the greatest insights in all science, Charles Darwin's theory of evolution.
Darwin wrote about the survival of the fittest, which meant that the weakest was left behind. This played right into the Nazi racial theories. They believed that they were the fittest.
In Charles Darwin's theory, species adapt to their environment, and those who do so best, what he called the fittest, survive and prosper the most. This process of constant adaptation and development explains the wonderful variety of the natural world. But Darwin had nothing to say about different human races. For him, human beings are just one particularly successful species.
His doctrines were distorted in this sense. There is a natural selection taking place, a ceaseless conflict. What Darwin seemed to have done was to authorize the idea of struggle, conflict. Nature is red in tooth and claw.
If you believe in a racial theory, a theory of evolution, then you have only two ways to go. Either you're part of the problem or you're part of the solution. You're either part of the inferior race that's going to be left behind, or you're part of the superior race, you're part of the next stage in evolution that's going to control the world, that's going to inherit the earth.
For the Nazis, an example of competition between races is sports, especially in the 1936 Olympic Games in Berlin. Hitler believes his Olympics will showcase Aryan superiority. This propaganda film of the German training camp idealizes the Aryan physique. Only prime specimens could represent Germany. Some of the German training is bizarre, but the Nazis take the Olympics very seriously. Unfortunately for Hitler, the Olympics don't turn out as his theories predicted. African-American athlete Jesse Owens wins 4 gold medals, including the 100 meters sprint. But according to Nazi theory, athletics is just a trial run for the real competition between races: war. By the summer of 1939, Hitler has pushed Europe to the brink of conflict. Britain and France have tried to keep the peace, but peace has no place in the Nazi Gospels.
If war is the norm and produces the great innovations and the great heroic virtues, then peace, eternal peace, is the end of civilization.
On September 1st, 1939, Hitler's armies strike east into Poland. Great Britain and France have promised the Poles their support. Now they issue an ultimatum to Hitler: pull out of Poland or we'll go to war. It is no deterrent.
Hitler saw himself as a kind of messiah. Hitler believed that he was going to bring about the salvation for the rest of the human race. This is what they had to do. You don't become a messiah and stay home. You've got to spread the word.
On September 3rd, Britain and France declare war on Germany. The Second World War begins in earnest. Over the next 6 years, it will rage on 4 continents and claim 61 million lives.
Nazism is like a shark that has to move to stay alive, really, right? That has to continuously engage in warfare. Peaceful coexistence is not really part of the program.
They were going to subjugate the peoples of the world. This was their game plan. Europe first. After that, the rest of the world was on the plate. He left Asia to the Japanese. He left North America by itself and South America by itself for now. But he had instituted a network of German associations throughout North and South America. He was prepared to overtake and overthrow those governments in the Americas as well.
Hitler's next move, after Poland, is attacking Western Europe in May 1940, sweeping through the Netherlands and Belgium and quickly crushing France. The British are driven back across the English Channel. Total Nazi domination in Europe seems assured. Only Churchill's defiance and the heroic victory by Britain's Royal Air Force in the Battle of Britain halts the Nazi advance. It's Hitler's first defeat, but quickly he turns his attention to a grander plan. In June 1941, he launches a massive invasion of the Soviet Union. A series of titanic battles and stunning victories make many Germans feel as if they really are the master race. By winter, Hitler's men are at the gates of Moscow. At this critical moment, the madness of Nazi science helps change the course of history.
Somehow the Nazi world ice people and all their weather forecasters had predicted that winter in Russia that year would have been mild. So the Nazi army, the Wehrmacht, shows up to fight Russia wearing summer uniforms in the winter, in a Russian winter. And then what happened, of course, was one of the worst winters on record, and the German soldiers were dying through exposure and frostbite like crazy, and it was a terrible disaster for the German army, based upon crackpot science.
It's not the only way crackpot Nazi theories help seal Germany's fate. According to the Nazi Gospels, Hitler's attack on the Soviet Union makes perfect sense. The Nazis consider the Russian Slavs an inferior race and the conquest of the East to be Aryan destiny. In reality, by attacking the Soviet Union in the summer of 1941 and declaring war on the United States 6 months later, Hitler takes on more enemies than he can handle. Soon he is facing the combined might of the USA, Russia, and the British Empire. Still, it will take 3 years for the Allies to crush Germany from east and west. 3 years during which the Nazi race war will lead to the most shocking crimes in history. Crimes that are the logical conclusion of all the Nazi Gospels. And the warped ideas first developed in the secret Aryan cults.
The link between the secret Aryan cults and the Holocaust is really buried in the Aryan master race and their battle, their struggle against Jews. Once the Aryans and the Jews had been paired off, as if you like, battling archetypes in some kind of cosmic battle, it was easy for the secret Aryan cults and the resultant Nazi ideology to identify the Jews' destruction as the only solution, the final solution to Aryan world rule.
Hitler's victories bring nearly 9 million Jews under Nazi control. Now the Nazis have the chance to finish their so-called race war once and for all. This final solution will be the work of Himmler's SS. They pioneer the mass killings of civilians, concentration camps, and gas chambers. The final Nazi gospel is the most terrible of them all. It is the gospel of genocide. Evil and irrational ideas, and the way they can be used to try to justify terrible crimes, are the enduring testimony of